I want to cut back because I get tired easier now. And the world's got to eat. I'm not an important person. I'm just a little cog in the wheel. But the world's got to eat.
America's got to eat, too. That's a clip from our NewsNation documentary Harvest, aired on Thanksgiving, also on demand. We show you how American family farms all across America are in crisis. The USDA says next year we will be buying more food from overseas than we're selling to the rest of the world. That's never happened before. There's a lot of bad things that come because of it. 190,000 farms closed in the U.S. over the last 15 years. That's 34 farms per day. Fewer farms means less food that is more expensive for your table. Food insecurity is a huge problem in America as well, especially in West Virginia. Feeding America says 1 in 8 people in that state go to bed hungry. West Virginia State Delegate Capito here. He announced he's running for governor today as well. Is there a way to reverse both of these problems at the same time?
Well, first of all, Leland, thank you for having me on today. And yeah, it has been quite an exciting day. And I want to thank you for bringing this subject up to the American people, because it's something we've been talking about in the state of West Virginia for a long time. And we've been making efforts to ensure that our food supply here is top notch. The answer to your question is, I think no. But what you've done and what others are starting to do is sort of sound the alarm of how critical this is. And the most troubling component here is that we see the countries that are sort of involved in this scheme. And the one that really stands out is China. When you look right now, China is, I believe, to be about the 4th largest exporter in this respect, and is growing. So just as they're sort of brazenly manufacturing fentanyl and pumping that into our country, they're at the same time trying to control our food supply. That creates a lot of problems, and a lot of them you mentioned, but not the least of which, it's always a national security risk when we're not controlling our food supply. And we care about that in West Virginia.
Yeah, the American farmer helped win World War II. At a state level, how do you deal with something like this versus at a federal one?
Well, I think the state is actually the place that can really take the action. Again, as you mentioned, I join you from a rural part of the country here in West Virginia. You know, 95% of our farms in West Virginia are family-owned farms. So I think, you know, when you talk about real estate transactions with foreign countries, you know, there are some mechanisms in place on the federal level that review certain purchases. But there are certainly gaps in those regulations, specifically CFIUS, where foreign countries are able to come in and purchase certain pieces of land without necessarily going through the full review, if you will, generally speaking, without getting to the details. But to answer your question, those gaps can be filled by state policymakers. So, you know, it's a call to action. It's something that we're going to take very seriously here in West Virginia about filling those gaps to ensure that our West Virginia farmers are providing the food that we're putting on our plates and that we're putting into our schools and putting into our children's bodies, because we know that healthy children and healthy people create better outcomes.
They do indeed. Moore, thank you very much. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon. Congratulations on the launch. We'll be right back. Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.